Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's Monday. It's 9 o'clock, which means it's time for a 5x5. Now, normally the 5x5 takes 5 different subjects, spends 5 minutes talking about each subject, and then moves on to the next subject. It's always quick, it's always snappy, you never know what you're going to get. This is still going to be quick and snappy, but we're changing the format for 1 week only. And the reason is, one question that comes up over and over again is creativity, how to be more creative, what the creative process looks like, how do you go about creating a trick, all of this different stuff. These are questions that come up all the time on Magic TV. Now, I love the process of creativity, so I thought I'd start doing a bunch of videos on the channel about creativity. And over the coming weeks and months, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to film a whole bunch of videos about the creative process and how to become more creative. But I wanted to give you an actual example. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a trick that I created many years ago and how it's evolved. Now, the trick in question I first published about 15 or 16 years ago. It first went on an ebook. I think the first project it ever went on was Locked in a Room Without Coins, which was my first card DVD. No, it might have been Blank. I'm not too sure. One of those came out first. I think Blank came out in 2007, in which case that would be the first one. And so I first put it on Blank using blank cards in a regular deck. And that was a great way of doing it. I still do it that way today. Then when Locked in a Room Without Coins came out, I put a variation on there, which was basically the same trick, but it used aces instead of blank cards. And what happened is there was a card under watch finale. So I changed the ending slightly, but the handling was still the same. Now, that routine is on the Netrick, so you can actually learn it if you want to. But over the last couple of months, I've been doing a color-changing deck routine. And it's based on the original routine that I put, which was called Mystique. It's based on the original routine from Blank in terms of the concept of having 4 cards. If you don't know what the routine is, I'm going to perform it for you in a minute. But it was the idea of taking 4 cards and kind of doing an impromptu wild card where a signed card, the 4 cards change one at a time to the signed card and then change back, right? That was the basic routine. Fantastic routine. I still do it to this day. But I've been working for the last couple of months on a color-changing deck. And it didn't start as a color-changing deck. How I got to the point that I'm about to show you is over the course of maybe 6 to 9 months. And my starting point was the Mystique routine. So I'm going to show you the different phases of evolution. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually talk you through how I went from the original routine through to what you're about to see later on. So it'll all become clear. I'm going to start off by showing you a performance of the original routine that first appeared on Blank. Now, the only difference is I'm actually using 4 kings in this routine. In the original Mystique routine, I actually used 4 blank cards, and they were used in conjunction with the regular deck. I'm doing exactly the same routine here, but the only difference is instead of using 4 blank cards, I'm using 4 kings. So let's have a look at that first so you just get a frame of reference. Okay, so I've got a pack of cards and I'm going to get Sarah behind the camera to help me. Is that all right, Sarah?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So 52 playing cards. I'm going to take out of this deck the 4 kings. So we've got the King of Hearts. We have the King of Diamonds. That's the 2 red kings. We have the King of Clubs and the King of Spades. 4 kings altogether. And you're going to pick a card. Now, I am allowed to see that card. It's not like it's a secret or anything. And you can have any one that you want to. So I'm going to write your name on, so maybe one with a bit of white space. So which one would you like?
4 of diamonds.
That one right there, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to come in front of the camera and write it, or are you going to continue to be camera shy?
You can write it.
People ask on Magic TV, when are you going to appear on camera?
I won't.
You won't. Hear that? Stop asking. Never going to happen. And trust me, that's her forceful, behave voice that I've heard many times as her husband. Anyway, so we've got Sarah's card, signed by Sarah. I'm going to pop that away into my pocket. We're going to get back to it a little bit later on. But we're going to pop it down there for now. We are going to get back to it later. And what you're about to see here is an illusion. It's not real. And it only actually uses the 4 kings. It doesn't use anything else. So I'll put the rest of the cards away. And I want you to watch very carefully. I'm going to create an illusion with the four kings. So we've got the king of clubs, king of spades, king of diamonds, king of hearts. Watch very carefully. If I take these four kings, you'll actually see this happen. Watch the king of clubs. If I just give a little twist, what happens is that king of clubs actually changes right there into the card with your name on it. See, it says Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, that can't be possible because we put your signed card in my pocket. So I'll do it again because it is an illusion. It's not real. Do you see the king of diamonds in between the other two? If I just give a little twist, it takes a second, and then what you do is you just check, and that one's turned into your signed card as well. So we have two cards, four of diamonds signed by you. Now, you're probably wondering, how have you got two four of diamonds? That's impossible. And it is impossible. It's an illusion. That's how it works. I'll do it again. We've got the king of hearts and the king of spades. Watch the king of hearts. That's the next one. When I wave it over these two, this one changes. Look at that. It's crazy, really, isn't it? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Now, if you've been following Sarah and you've been paying attention, we now have 3 fours with your name on it, and we have 1 king left. Now, the king of spades is the most difficult king because really it's the only one that I can't cover up with any other card. So I just have to use magic like that, give it a rub, and now we've got 4 of diamonds with your name on it. Now, do you remember me saying that the whole thing was an illusion?
Yeah.
It really is an illusion. And the reason I know that is because we put your card down here from the very beginning. This has been your card from the very beginning, which means these always have been and always will be the 1, 2, 3, 4 kings. Okay, so that was Mystique, and I've performed that for years and years and years. In fact, I think there's a ton of live performance footage on the on Magic TV of me doing that. I love using blank cards because it fits with the illusion theme, right? It fits with the idea of I'm going to create an illusion. Everything that you see is not what you believe. And by the way, the reason the routine's called Mystique is because it was named after Russ Stevens' Illusion Act that I used to go and watch as a kid every single year and absolutely love. And my mum and dad took me to watch Mystique almost every year. And you know, when I started putting that routine together, and I realised that the whole presentation was going to be about creating an illusion, it was my homage to Russ Stevens. Anyway, about 9 months ago, I was playing around with red, blue double backers. One thing that I like to do when I'm creating magic is take a prop and say, right, what can I do with this prop? What are all the different applications of this particular prop? And I was working on a whole bunch of different things with red, blue double backers. And one thing that I realized is using the concept of mirage, and I'm not going to explain how mirage is done. I'm going to go through a few different technical variations that I took along my journey. I'm not going to go through how Mystique works. You can learn that from Netrix or you know, various different projects. But I realized when I was playing around with the red blue double backer that if I throw a red blue double backer on top of the deck and I add it to the deck at some point, like maybe at the end of a card routine, and just palm the red blue double backer on, I can do basically the same routine, but instead of the faces changing to a signed card, I can have the backs of the cards changing. And I've always loved color changing deck plots, and I've always loved packet tricks where the cards change and change back. One of my favorite packet tricks of all time, which I actually talked about on a video on this channel, is Pink Floyd by Michael Close, which is basically 4 blue back jokers change into 4 red back jokers and change back again. And I realised, and the problem with that routine is it's completely gaffed and you can't have them examined or anything. And I realised by adding just 1 red-blue double backer to the top of the deck and using the same concept of Mystique, but instead of actually using instead of actually having a card picked and signed, because what you're doing with the original Mystique is you're adding the signed card onto the packet of 4 kings or 4 blank cards, and then all that's happening is through a series of Ascanios and partial Ascanios and a couple of double lifts, you're actually showing the signed card multiple times. So when you put it down, you've only got 4 blank cards or 4 kings, right? So that was the original concept, and I realized if I did the same thing with the backs instead of the fronts and added a red-blue double backer, I could have a really nice packet trick. But instead of like something like Pink Floyd where everything can't be examining and you're taking it out of a packet trick wallet, I can literally have somebody name 4 of a kind, or I can take out 4 kings from a deck, for example. I can have those cards change. I can have those kings change on the backs to a different colour, and then I can immediately have them change back, and I'm left with one gaffed card that I can palm out at the end of the routine. So I can get into and out of it at any point in an act that I want to. And as soon as I realised that, I was like, this is really cool. Let me show you that routine so you can see exactly where this evolved from. So it evolved from having a signed card duplicate multiple times, kind of like a wild card, to a small packet, color changing packet style routine. But you can see that it's basically the same handling. I've had to change a couple of elements in order for it to work. We're not using Ascanios, we're using paintbrush changes. But everything else is remaining the same. Let's have a look at that.
Okay, so I'm going to show Sarah a trick behind the camera. Sarah, I have a pack of 52 playing cards. They're all there, they're all different, and it's important that you see that they've all got blue backs, which is a very strange thing to point out, but you'll see why I'm going to point this out in a second. Now I'm going to take out 4 cards. I'm going to take out the 4 kings. I'm going to take out the king of diamonds. I'm going to take out the king of spades. I'm going to take out the king of clubs, and I'm going to take out the king of hearts. 4 kings. Now, I want you to watch very, very carefully with these 4 kings, and don't blink for a second. And just like the rest of the pack, the cards are red-backed. Now, that's important, and you'll see why in a second. I'm not going to use the rest of the cards. I'm just going to use the kings. So we have the king of hearts, we have the king of clubs, we have the king of spades, and finally we have this one here, which is the king of diamonds. Now, I'm going to try this one at a time. We'll start off with the king of clubs. If I take the king of spades, rub it onto the king of clubs and just pull back, that card actually changes into a red-backed card. Now, you're probably wondering how that works. Well, it's all an illusion, but it's an illusion that can be repeated. So I'm going to do it again. This time we'll use the king of diamonds. Now, if I take the king of hearts and rub it on the king of diamonds, what happens is the king of diamonds actually changes as well. Now, that one has a red back as well. So we've got 2 cards with red backs, 2 cards left to go. We've got the heart and the spade. Now, watch this. If I just put the spade on top of the heart, snap my fingers, when I do, that's when that one goes as well. Now, the king of hearts has got a red back. Leaves us with the final card. Now, the final card is this one here, the king of spades. And this one is the hardest one to go. And the reason is it's the only one that I can't cover up with the other cards. So all I have to do is this, and that one changes as well. And now we have 4 cards, and they've all got red backs, which is crazy. But I want you to watch. You see, if I touch these red back cards just to the deck, let me take the deck over and I'll show you. Look, if I touch these red back cards to the deck, I wait a split second, what happens is they turn back to blue, just like every other card in the pack.
Okay, so I started performing that, and that went really well, and that was a really fun routine to perform. And then I was still working on routines with a red-blue double backer, and I was trying to come up with a really cool color-changing deck. I had a concept for a really cool color-changing deck, and I couldn't really get it to where I wanted it to be, and I still haven't, but that's another video. But what I did realize is that I could use the handling that I developed for the previous routine that you'd just seen to create a color changing deck. Because if I had four sort of like red kings in a blue back deck, I could take those red kings out, have a red blue double backer on top of the deck. It would look like a red deck. It would really look like a red deck because you've got the cover card on top, which is a red blue double backer. And then when I spread through and I take out the 4 kings, they can see that those are red cards, which further enforces the fact that all the cards are red. And I can then do this particular sequence that I developed for this packet trick, change the cards one at a time to blue, and then once they've all turned to blue, I can put the deck on top of the packet, and I can snap my fingers and I can have them turn back to red. And then I'm in a situation where I can then take one card out, and like the classic color changing deck style routine, I can then have that card change. And because I've got a red blue double backer, I can change the top card of the deck, do a double turnover, and then I can change every card to blue. So then the evolution from the packet trick to the color changing deck was the realization that this sequence that I developed, which was completely based on the the wild card now allows me to take those routines, kind of put them together and create a color changing deck. And I'm really super happy with this. Let me show you the performance of that so you can see what this looks like.
Okay, so I'm going to show you something with a pack of cards. I want you to watch very carefully. I'm going to take the 4 kings out of this deck. So we have the king of hearts, that's that one right there. We have the king of spades, that's that one. We have the king of clubs, that's that one right there. And then finally, we have the king of diamonds. So I've got 4 kings, and I'm going to show you something with these 4 kings. And we're only going to use the 4 kings. We're not going to use the rest of the deck. The rest of the deck isn't important. So I'll put the rest of the deck over there. The important thing are these 4 kings. Now I want you to watch really carefully. I'm going to take these kings one at a time, and I'm going to try and show you something absolutely amazing with them. And it's not going to happen on the front of the cards. It's actually going to happen on the back of the cards. You see, I've got a blue tattoo there. And if I touch this red card to the tattoo, touch it to the card, what happens is that card actually turns blue, which is kind of crazy, kind of weird. I'm going to do that again for you because the thing is you didn't know what was going to happen. So let's try it again. You shouldn't really repeat a magic trick, but I'm going to break the unwritten rule. You see, you just have to take this card, touch it to that one, touch it to the blue, touch it to the card. That one turns blue. Now, this is kind of really weird, but let's see if we can do it again. We've got 2 kings left now. We've got the spades and the diamonds. I just touch them together, give a little twist, and when I do, hopefully, yeah, that one's gone as well. That's that one. I don't know which this one is. Which one is it? Yeah, it's the king of spades. That leaves us with 1 final king to go. Now, the final one here is the king of diamonds, and this one's the hardest one. It's way harder than the others, and the reason is it's the only one that I can't cover up with the other 3. So I just literally wave my hand over, and when I do, that one turns blue as well. Now, you're probably wondering how I was able to touch this and have them all turn blue. Well, I've got to be honest with you, it's all an optical illusion. It's not real. Let me show you what I mean by it not being real. If I take these cards and just put them here like this, I want you to watch the blue cards. I'm going to put them here onto the deck. If I just snap my fingers, what happens is they turn back to red-backed cards, which is kind of weird. But to be honest, I can do this with any card in the deck, which sounds crazy, but it's true. You see, if I touch, I don't know, we'll take this Jack of Diamonds, for example. If I touch that to my blue tattoo, that one turns blue. In fact, if I take that blue Jack of Diamonds and I touch it to the deck, because this one's blue, what happens is the deck, this card turns blue. And if I take the whole deck and touch it to my tattoo, what actually happens is the entire deck turns blue all the way through, and the only cards that don't turn blue are the 1, 2, 3, 4 kings.
So that was great, and I gigged that for about a month and a half, and it was really good, but there was a massive problem. There was a massive problem, and the massive problem was being left with 4 red kings, because now, what am I meant to do about those kings? I can put them away in my pocket, but what I found from performing it to lay people is they wanted me to turn those kings into blue as well. And it was kind of almost anticlimactic. I thought it would be quite cool that only 4 cards were left, but no, it wasn't anticlimactic. People wanted those cards to turn to blue, and it didn't matter how good the routine was. It felt unfinished in the eyes and the heads of the spectators. And to be honest, when you're creating, that's one thing that's very important to understand, is that you have to trial this stuff in the real world when you're creating magic. I really don't get people who create magic and don't go and perform it. Like, I know my friend Lloyd Barnes is not a performer, but he'll go and perform it in a social situation. He'll go and, he performs magic. He just doesn't gig. He doesn't go and do paid gigs. You don't have to go and do paid gigs to be a creator, but I do think you have to go to the effort of actually trying this stuff out, or at least finding people who do perform in the real world to go and try this stuff out, because I've created magic in the past and I've thought, oh my God, that's the best thing ever. And when I've gone and tried it out in the real world, I realize it kind of sucks hard, right? And you don't realize that until you actually start performing this stuff in the real world. So the biggest piece of advice you can learn from this is go out. You created a trick, great. You think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Go out and perform it to real people, because you'll soon realize that there's flaws that you didn't even realize might be a flaw. So I went out and performed this. people were very unhappy that the kings weren't turned into a different colour. So then I kind of realised, so I went back to my drawing board and I was like, right, okay, how do I actually finish this routine off? How do I get the kings to change colour as well? And I realised if I take the 4 blue kings from the deck and I put them reversed, second from the bottom, I can do the exact same sequence that you've just seen and nothing will be affected. Because as long as I do a block push-off of the first 5 or 6 cards, it's not going to affect anything. But it's going to allow me to have this whole thing where the cards change one at a time, then the deck changes. You're going to have all of that sequence, all of that really fun stuff you're going to have. But it's not going to change anything. Those cards are still going to be reversed. So then if I give the deck a cut at the end, and I insert those red-backed kings at the end into the tilt break so that they're reversed, people are going to think they're going into the middle of the deck, but really they're going right near the face. They're going in the, right next to the face card of the deck. So now with no moves, I can snap my fingers, spread through. They see 4 kings reversed in the deck, which is what's meant to happen. And then I can take them out and turn them over one at a time and show they've changed as well, which was a concept that John Gustafaro explored in his Wonder Aces routine. And it was that concept that actually made me go, hang on, because I'm doing it in a different way, but in a very different way to John, and the routine is completely different, and so on and so forth. But it's that concept of having the final 4 cards change that made me go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it wasn't, what am I trying to say? I've read John's Wonder Aces and all of John's material, and it's absolutely fantastic. But when I was trying to come up with this solution and I was thinking, right, okay, I can have a tilt break, I wasn't thinking of John Gustafaro, but in the back of my mind was going, okay, must have gone, right, okay, think Wonder Aces, which is great, and it shows how you need to be well read, because the more techniques you know, the more routines you know, the more ideas you know, the more concepts you know, you can apply that to your own magic, whether that's to create something to ultimately offer to the community or just to make your own routines more original. So, and the nice thing about this is, from a cleanup point of view, all I have to do is cop the bottom 5 cards of the deck off, and I'm left with a regular deck of cards that I can use for anything. So let's have a look at the final version of this routine that I'm now performing. Okay, so I'm going to do a trick with a pack of cards, and I'm going to go through and take out 4 cards. We're actually going to take out the 4 kings here. So we've got the King of Spades, we've got the King of Hearts, we've got the King of Clubs right there, and then somewhere in the deck we should have a King of, there it is, the King of Diamonds. Perfect, 4 kings. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what you're going to see is not a normal card trick. It's not the sort of trick where you have someone pick a card and you find it. In fact, to be honest, this trick is quite unique because it doesn't even, it's not about the fronts of the cards, it's about the backs of the cards. So what I'm going to do, and I'm not even going to use the rest of the deck for now, I'm just going to use the 4 kings, okay? So we've got the King of Diamonds, that's that one. We've got the King of Clubs, that's that one. We've got the King of Spades, and then finally this one here, the King of Hearts. I'm going to do this one at a time, and I'm going to start off with the King of Clubs. So what's the King of Clubs? If I just take my King of Spades, touch it to my red tattoo, and then take that card and rub it like that, I can actually make that card print into a blue card, which is kind of really weird, right? It's really strange. Let me do that again for you. You might have missed it. I've got magic tattoos. That's how it works. I mean, I don't have to touch it to the red. I can touch it to the blue. Still the same thing happens. I just do this. And just like that, I get a second card that's turned into a blue back card. It's kind of weird, really, isn't it? Let's see if we can do that again. We've got 2 kings left. We've got the diamonds and we've got the spades. Now I'm just going to put those together, give it a little twist. And when I do, that one actually changes as well. That's the 3rd card that's turned blue. Leaves us with one last one. Now this one, I've got to be honest with you, it's the hardest one. And the reason it's the hardest one is it's because the only one that I'm not going to cover up with the other kings. It makes it way more difficult. Watch the card. If I just go rub like that, it turns blue backed. And now we have a kind of a very weird situation because one at a time, these cards have all turned blue backed, which is cool, right? But watch, because I'm going to see if I can end the illusion. If I just take the blue cards, the blue kings, and put them here on top of the red deck and snap my fingers, what actually happens is they turn back to red, which is kind of really weird when you think about it, right?
But tell you what we're going to do. I can do this with any card that I want to. So let me go through and take out the Ace of Clubs. Okay, I'll take out the Ace of Clubs. Watch the Ace of Clubs. All I have to do is touch the Ace of Clubs to my blue tattoo, and I can actually turn it into a blue card. If I touch the Ace of Clubs to my blue tattoo and touch the Ace of Clubs to the top of the deck, what actually happens is the deck actually turns blue. And if I just take my my deck and touch it to the blue tattoo, you're not going to believe this. What actually happens is every single card in this deck turns blue. Well, I say every single card. Not every single card, almost every single card. Obviously, the kings haven't turned blue. They're the only ones that haven't, to be perfectly honest. But let me see if we can do something. If I touch those cards to the blue tattoo, this is going to be quite difficult. So I'm going to put them facing the other direction into the middle of the deck. Okay, so they're actually face down in a face-up deck. Or if I turn the deck over, they're actually face up in a face-down deck. Now I'm going to touch the deck one more time to the blue tattoo. Wait 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Snap the fingers, and hopefully, with any luck, let's have a see if we've managed it. Because now, even the kings have turned blue back. Every single card in the pack has turned blue. And with just one little move, you can examine everything.
So there you go. So you can see how it's evolved over time. We've gone from a wild card to a small, basically a packet trick, to a color-changing deck, to a color-changing deck with a kicker ending, right? And it's evolved over time. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give you when it comes to creativity. Never settle, never be happy. When you're creating a routine, you always need to make sure that you're improving it. You always need to make sure that you're going back to your material and saying, right, okay, this was good, but how can I make it better? And I think ultimately there's nothing that I've ever done that's completely finished. I'm always trying to come up with new material and new ideas based on the ideas that I've put out there in the past. So that's the biggest piece of, and don't restrict yourself. You know, I mean, going from a wild card to a color changing deck is kind of a really weird leap, right? A wild card with blank cards going to a color changing deck. It's a very strange sort of pattern, but in my head, that's the process that I went through, and I wanted to share that with you so that you understand kind of how I went from A to B to C to D. So when you're creating your own magic or you're trying to come up with your own creations, don't be limited just because there's a wild card. Say to yourself, okay, well, that's a wild card, that's really good. What else can I do with that? Well, what about if I change the backs of the cards in front of the front instead of the fronts? Well, how would that look? What would I do? Okay, well, let's see if we can use a gaffed card in here. Red, blue, double backer. Amazing. And then you kind of go from there. So anyway, bit of a weird 5x5, bit of a different format, and we will be back to the normal format next week. But I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Would you like to see more videos on creativity? Would you like to see more videos on how to create a magic trick? If you would, let me know in the comments down below. And also, don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and I will be back again on Tuesday. I'm going to be back tomorrow with a whole bunch of videos, so check out those videos. And don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you want to check out the Netrix, go to www.thenetrix.com, and you can sign up for a month and see what all the fuss is about. You know, we're massively over where we thought we'd be on subscribers, so to everybody who's subscribed, thank you very much. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.